One of the most common problems that I come across is silos. And I'm not talking about those big metal things that you'll see in any modern farm. I'm talking about data silos. And in this video, I want to give you a few ideas on how to tackle them. Hi there, my name is Ruben, and I'm a data strategist or a professional treasure hunter, and I help companies find the hidden gems or insights within their data. And one of the things that we have to do before we can really get there is break down the data silos. So silos within the context of a company is really different data sources or storages that don't talk to each other. Maybe marketing has data that sales could use, but they're not sharing, and vice versa. So this happens all the time, and you see it in different contexts and different shapes, but the silos then prevent you from looking at things holistically. And I'll give you a few examples on how things can go very, very wrong. So first, let's understand that data silos are fundamentally a people problem. The technology to fix it, the technology to share data, whether it's a data warehouse or a data lake, that is straightforward. For the most part, in most situations, technology is not really the issue. That is, the silo doesn't exist just because the technology is not there. I can think of some industries where technology might be a major issue, specifically from the perspective of privacy. Financial companies, cryptocurrency companies, any company with a high level of legal compliance could have a technology issue. I grant that. But for the most part, even then, you can still see underlying people or human problems manifesting itself as technology. Now, let me give you 3 strategies on how to deal with silos. You can use them together, you can use them separately, and they might even spur a few other ideas on your end. Number 1, establish a data marriage counselor. So I have actually served this role for companies, and there was one client in particular where we had a bunch of data. Their teams weren't really talking to each other. And in fact, they were almost working against each other. And they were in the financial space, so they had a little bit more regulations to deal with. And they just needed someone to basically marry the data, to go through and just like a real counselor without the actual couch, which I wish I had, sit the different teams down and say, okay, this is what you have, this is what they have, this is what this other team has, how can we work together? Okay, it's a resource problem for you, you don't have time, you don't think this is worth it, you don't think this is even useful to your team, and you start to reconcile the differences and work through it and get commitment. And you start to get teams to say, you know what, we're gonna share this, we'll do this is doable for us, this technology makes sense, and you start to get a plan together. So as a single person functioning as a data marriage counselor can go through all the teams and get them to agree and work together. Again, fundamentally a human solution to a human problem. Number 2, you can align teams on the same KPI or incentives. So I had a client where the marketing and sales teams weren't really talking to each other. The marketing team was rewarded for just driving leads, and the sales team was rewarded for closing those leads. Seems quite normal. However, because the marketing team was rewarded for driving leads, they would just drive more and more leads, and the quality was dropping. And in fact, historically, it had always been quite low. And the sales team then just had to deal with this huge amount of leads, but unqualified nonetheless. So what we could do there is actually reshape how they think about the KPIs and come up with a KPI that could work across both teams. Something like a qualified lead. And sometimes you hear about MQLs and SQLs. Even then, I think you're still too separate. I still think it's much better to put them together and say, this is how we think about leads. And we're gonna drive X amount of qualified leads, and we're gonna close X amount of qualified leads. But when we talk about qualified leads, we mean the exact same thing. And that it's a conversation. It then means you can share data. The marketing team has to see the performance on those leads, and the sales team can see the different campaigns and so on that are taking place. Number 3, as a strategy, is applying to self-interest. So the self-interest can be that of a manager, a director, a team, but within companies, people will tend to move if it's something that will benefit them. For the most part, you can have some goodwill and so on, but especially when you're dealing with tricky situations where you want someone's time, someone's energy to get on someone's calendar, let's say engineering teams, to get some time in a sprint, there has to be something there in their self-interest, and that will make things easier. So I actually worked with the company, and their engineering team wasn't initially on board with our technical plan, with a different technology we wanted to implement. And I worked with them, and I told them, you know what, if we don't do this, you're going to have the marketing team come to you every week and ask you for something new, for a new event, a new implementation, a new integration, a question. It's going to be never ending. You're going to lose 10, 20% of your time just merely answering these questions. But if you do this now, if you set up a CDP, which I have another video coming up soon, if you set up this software, they'll be much more self-serve and you can keep working on the things that matter to you. You can not be distracted. And that was actually a great pitch for them. They understood it, they got it, they came on board. So appealing to the self-interest of every team, doesn't matter if you're talking to marketing, to engineering, to legal especially. Sometimes clients complain to me that legal is just vetoing and blocking everything, but they also have a self-interest. That you can come in and show that you're actually aligning yourself to requirements, you're being safe, you're thinking through the worst case scenarios of data leaks, data privacy. You can start to get that approval from legal, but you have to make it easier for them. And those are the three strategies. Think about a data marriage counselor, think about aligning under the same incentives or KPIs, and think about appealing to the self-interest. Now that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe, like, share the video, anything you can do in YouTube. There's also gonna be a couple links in the description. There'll be a link for my first book, The Data Mirage. It's not out. You can order it from Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, BAM, Chapters if you're in Canada. So if you enjoy any of the content in the videos, I would greatly appreciate if you could support by buying the book, Kindle, physical, whatever makes sense for you. There's also gonna be a link to The Growth Needle, my weekly newsletter, and Twitter, 2 other avenues where you can get similar content in different formats. Finally, let me know in the comments below what's one thing you like, what's one question you might have. Put that down. I love to read that, and I think other people will also enjoy that. Until next time, talk soon.